Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're dissecting a totally preventable tragedy to demand some real answers. We're looking straight at the systemic failures and the really fierce legal fallout following the boat capsizing at the Barge Dam. You know, whenever a disaster like this strikes, the immediate reaction is obviously shock, but that's followed very closely by a demand for accountability. By analyzing the source material detailing the aftermath of this event, we're going to trace exactly how the local administration and the judicial system stepped in. Our goal today is to understand the mechanisms of accountability that get triggered when the unthinkable happens, and how the law actually attempts to make sure those responsible are brought to justice.
Okay, let's dive into this. 13. That is the devastating human cost we really need to ground ourselves in today. Behind all the legal terminology, the court orders, and the government statements we're going to look at, there's just this stark reality. 13 individuals lost their lives when a cruise boat capsized on May 3rd. It's a profound, completely irreversible loss, and it's the entire reason why the subsequent demand for accountability, which we're about to explore, is being pursued with such absolute intensity.
Just to give you the exact context from our sources, this whole tragedy unfolded at the Bargi Dam, located in Jabalpur, Madhya Pradesh, and while the loss of life is obviously the devastating core of this event, our explainer is really going to focus on the active pursuit of justice that immediately followed. We're examining how a system responds when safety protocols seemingly just vanish. Because this isn't just about a boat flipping over, right? It's an investigation into a system that allowed a vessel to operate under dangerous conditions in the very first place, and how authorities are now trying to prevent history from repeating itself.
The pace of events here was incredibly swift, moving from the initial tragedy straight into a judicial response. On May 3rd, the boat capsizes. Then, over the next few days, the Jabalpur District Administration was engaged in these exhausting search operations. By Sunday, that grim task was completed with the recovery of the final two bodies, bringing the total accounted for to 13. But I want you to notice that final point on the timeline. Even as those recovery efforts were wrapping up, immediate court action was already being directed. The system literally didn't wait. The push for legal accountability began almost simultaneously with the conclusion of the search.
So the crucial point is how this rapid legal action actually started. It was through a really powerful mechanism called suo motu cognizance. Basically, this just means a court takes legal action entirely on its own accord. They don't sit back and wait for a grieving family to navigate the bureaucracy and file a formal petition, or for the police to bring the case to their doorstep. The Jabalpur District Court proactively stepped in. They saw a situation where lives were lost, and they exercised their authority to demand an immediate investigation and the registration of a First Information Report, or an FIR. It's just an incredibly powerful example of the judiciary acting as a direct, uncompromising watchdog for public safety.
The court's motivation to act is just glaringly obvious when you read their striking observation. They stated, the cruise operator, being aware of the activities and situation of the cruise, exited safely but did not make any effort to save the other passengers, thereby leaving them to die. I mean, wow. This isn't just a statement about an accident. It is a profound indictment of severe negligence and outright abandonment. But you know, the negligence goes even deeper than that. As an investigative look reveals, this vessel was reportedly operating without basic safety clearances or even valid insurance, essentially turning it into a floating hazard long before it ever started to sink.
And this brilliantly illustrates a really dramatic contrast in human behavior during a crisis. On one side, you have the cruise operator, literally the person entrusted with the safety of the vessel, allegedly abandoning the passengers and fleeing. And on the flip side, everyday bystanders just dove right in to help. The court explicitly expressed its appreciation for those individuals who bravely attempted to rescue the drowning passengers. And honestly, this bravery reflects a pretty grim reality for the local community. Many of them have been warning for a long time about the overlooked risks of water transport in these areas, knowing full well they're often forced to be their own first responders. This sharp contrast formed the very basis for the court's harsh legal crackdown.
Now, to make sure this crackdown actually has some teeth, the court ordered charges under the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. Specifically, they directed the registration of an FIR against the pilot and other concerned persons under Section 106 for causing death by negligence and Section 110 for culpable homicide. And the court was very explicit about their rationale here. If these actions aren't investigated, similar incidents where operators abandon passengers during emergencies are just going to keep happening. They're using these specific, heavy charges as a direct response to the operator's blatant disregard for life and safety protocols, setting a really firm precedent for the future.
So, while those vital legal wheels were beginning to turn, the immediate physical crisis on the water was finally coming to a close. Officials confirmed that the search operations by the Jabalpur District Administration were completed and all 13 missing persons had been identified. For the families of the victims, this marked the agonizing end of a truly desperate wait, as the bodies of their loved ones were sent to a government hospital for post-mortem examinations. It was a deeply painful but absolutely necessary closure to the initial emergency response.
Let's move to and see how this builds at a national level. The tragedy drew widespread attention, resulting in immediate financial restitution from the Prime Minister's National Relief Fund. A compensation of rupees 2 lakh was announced for the next of kin of each person who lost their life, while those who were injured in the mishap would be given rupees $50,000. It's a step meant to provide immediate, practical assistance to the affected families as they suddenly find themselves having to navigate this devastating loss.
Along with that financial support came a direct message of condolence. The Prime Minister noted that the loss of lives in this capsizing is extremely painful, extending condolences to the grieving families while also praying for the speedy recovery of the injured. It really brings our narrative right back to the human element at the center of all this. It's a stark reminder that while financial support definitely aids the families whose lives have been shattered, it's the pursuit of systemic accountability that will truly honor their loss. So we've seen this really rapid pursuit of accountability, from the local authorities concluding their search, to a court taking suo motu action, to a response from the highest level of government. But it leaves us with a vital question to think about. If operators know for a fact they will face strict charges like culpable homicide for abandonment, and if local communities continue to highlight the dangerous lack of safety clearances and insurance, will it finally force the systemic changes needed to prevent this from ever happening again? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning the systems meant to protect us all.